welcome back after a long hiatus to Ectoplasmic Fantastic
A pro-Nazi podcast
with Molly
and Andrew.
Yes, it's been so long.
I like the fact you're not even cancelling my pro-Nazi comment.
I don't think it warrants cancelling. I think we should just leave it to hang in the air and never speak of it again.
Did you know it's illegal to deny the Holocaust?
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow, so it should be.
But this isn't about denying the Holocaust or...
We're not talking about Nazis at all.
No.
Yeah,
although Nicholas is wearing his SS uniform.
Oh, damn it.
In the background.
It's Sunday, I'm allowed.
His version of an SS uniform, though, is just gold trunks and the red armband with the swastika on it.
Crystals.
He's gay SS.
What have you been up to over our hiatus /
hating the council.
Fair.
And loving my boyfriend.
Aww.
And yeah, just peaks and troughs. But we've only been on a hiatus because you have been gallivanting around Croatia.
I have. I was in Croatia and then I went to Brighton for a week, which was really nice. And I was up in, because I'm going to do a segue here, Scotland, visiting my mum and dad.
Nice.
So we've not exhausted London because
There's so much more.
The occult history of London has probably had numerous volumes written on it.
And Molly really does want to do a 6-episode mini arc on Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I just want to talk about him all day. But we are going to Scotland now. So we've done Edinburgh.
Yes.
Which was really great. We're now going a bit further north and a bit further east.
And a bit further wetter.
And a bit colder. And a bit more dreek, as they say. To Loch Ness.
Loch Ness! The most famous cryptid in the world. Next to probably Bigfoot.
I got in an argument with my RE teacher trying to defend the Loch Ness Monster's existence when I was about 12. Because he started giving all this chat about how he was an RE teacher.
Ugh.
About how people fake ghost sightings and Loch Ness Monster sightings for money. And I was not here for it.
What was your argument?
I said that you can't prove that and it's very horribly cynical.
Yeah.
And
Fair play. You can't prove they're not real.
You can't, and also you're an RE teacher. You can't prove the existence of God and Jesus, but you do, and that's fine. You're allowed to, but let me have mine.
Yeah. You know, you have your wizard, we have ours. Plus vampires.
Yeah, plus loads more fun shit, like a dinosaur that still exists.
Yeah, oh great. A god who says I can't fuck boys and, you know, turning water into wine 2,000 years ago says that I couldn't have it. Or I can go and fuck my boyfriend and summon spirits.
Yeah.
I don't know which option I like.
Live in hope that you'll one day see a real dinosaur. Like, it's great. Especially for small children.
Yeah.
Don't let the dream die by being horrible and cynical. Anyway, Loch Ness is fantastic. I love Loch Ness. I love the surrounding area. I was there in May. I think I already talked about it on this podcast. So there is something in the atmosphere up there.
Oh god, I know.
It's heavy.
The light feels heavy and not bleak but muted. It's definitely an unusual place.
And all the history of the Highlands and all that area is just so violent. So we stayed at this loch called the Loch of the Rivers Run Red or some shit because there was a bloody battle and loads of Scots got massacred. And also we stayed at this other completely separate place where there was this monument on the side of the road with 7 men's heads at the top of it, 7 disembodied heads that again was similar massacre. 7 people died. Or were martyrs. There's loads of martyrs up there because Catholics and Protestants and English and Scots were always like slicing each other up on the barren moors. Actually, it's not barren, it's quite what's the word? fertile soil. There's a lot of plant life. Peat.
But this is not an ecological survey podcast.
The only thing about Loch Ness is it's a bit at risk of becoming a tourist theme park, which makes me really sad. People really like to drive the Nessie message home. There's a lot of coach trips, a lot of like very overpriced coffee shops that will try and sell you like tablet and a tartan bow. And I mean, I buy all that shit. I'm shameless. We went past a sign for something called Nessieland, and I did scream when we saw it, and we did do like a drift in the car to get back to it because we were all so pumped, and it was busted. So I shouldn't be encouraging that shit, but I do.
What was Nessieland?
An immersive Loch Ness experience about the history of the monster that hadn't been updated since about 1970. We didn't go in because it cost like a tenner.
Unless they put you in a tank of water and increase the water pressure to whatever it is at 1,000 feet below water and make it really brackish and make me a plesiosaur, I'm not interested.
I got some good Nessie merch though.
Oh, what was it?
A giant t-shirt that said Nessieland.
I thought you said good merch.
It is great. I wear it quite a lot. And my sister's boyfriend got a baseball hat with the Jurassic Park logo on it, but it said Loch Ness, and instead of the Jurassic Park dinosaur, it was Nessie. I think he bought it just to wind her up, which worked.
Fucking Belgians.
Yeah, Loch Ness there is something in the atmosphere. It's very quiet, very, very quiet. When there's not coachloads of screaming tourists, and the waters in Loch Ness are very silent, and it's very, very deep, and it's very still. Loch Ness is where I found the skull, the little tiny skull.
Remember?
You walk around, there's all kinds of weird little tombs hidden in the forest.
It's an unsettling place.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
You should all go and go to Nessieland.
Yeah, go to Nessieland.
Pay your tenner. Live your best.
Before they turn it into a water park.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck off.
So, Nessie.
Are you doing Nessie?
Well, I thought this was about the Loch Ness Monster.
I researched something completely different. But you can talk about Loch Ness Monster and I can talk about my thing.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cute.
Perfect.
Okay, so on December the 6th, 1933, we had the first reported photograph of the monster.
Is that the famous one?
Oh, no, that one came next. The Secretary of State for Scotland ordered police to prevent any attacks on the monster.
Oh, good, okay. I thought he prevented the monster from
People
attacking.
have stanned Nessie since the get-go.
Nessie's cute. As far as cryptids go, Nessie's fucking adorable.
Well, so Nessie's been like super benign. Like, there's not been any nasty Nessie moments. But that was when the first official photograph was. The earliest recorded experience of Nessie was St. Columba in 565 AD. So basically, St. Columba came across a guy who had been mauled and killed by a water beast. So St. Columba was like, not on my watch. So they went across the loch, and the beast approached them in their boat. But St. Columba did the sign of the cross and said, "Go no further. Do not touch the man. Go back at once." And the creature stopped as though ropes were suddenly pulling it back because, praise Jesus. And then the Picts all said, "Yay, Christians," because that's what saints do. They fight dragons and...
I don't buy that. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that one happened. That's just Christians appropriating again.
Also, the Picts are so cool.
Oh, I know, I love them. So there was another sighting moving forward to 1871 when D. Mackenzie of Balnain saw a large object wriggling and churning up the water. George Spicer in 1933, they saw a creature move across the road in front of them. It was 10 to 12 feet long. Sorry, hang on a second. It was 4 feet high and 25 feet long, with a long, wavy, narrow neck, slightly thicker than an elephant's trunk, and as long as the 10 to 12 foot width of the road, they saw no limbs. That's a description of the Loch Ness monster.
No limbs.
No limbs.
So according
they
to
didn't see any limbs.
So according to this guy, it is more snake-like.
According to this guy, more snake-like. But the reason that we now have a lot more sightings of Nessie is that in 1933 they started building a road that ran parallel to the loch. So workers were around there, more people coming through, because otherwise the lake was quite isolated.
I was going to say, up until they started building, because there's a lot of like fairly main roads for all the coaches that are quite near Loch Ness, and I imagine that up until then it must have been really fucking isolated.
Oh yeah,
there.
well
it's very accessible nowadays.
It was called the Lonely Loch.
Wow, I didn't know that.
1933, Hugh Gray takes a photo that is blurred, and they basically say we can see a dog in this photo, and he had taken his Labrador for a walk, and they suspect that the photo is actually the dog carrying a stick in its mouth and swimming.
Okay.
The thing is, a lot of these, and this is a recurring theme, is the people taking photographs, and then it's very easy to go, this is an exposed negative. You've tweaked this. We're not impressed. One of my favourite ones is Arthur Grant on the 5th of January 1934 nearly hit the creature on his motorbike while approaching Abriacan.
Not familiar, actually.
I don't know if that's the spelling, but it's probably got a in it. This creature, here's another description. Nicholas, use your mind's eye. Small head attached to a long neck. That's all we get. The creature saw him and crossed the road back to the loch. Grant, a veterinary student, I'm paraphrasing here, described it as a cross between a seal and a plesiosaur.
So they were getting the plesiosaur thing.
Which I think actually sounds quite cute.
That sounds adorable.
However, Grant sketched it, and basically zoologist Maurice Burton said that its behaviour and movement was consistent with an otter. So,
I mean, at a stretch,
and
conceivably,
because of the poor light conditions, it's why it appeared larger. I don't know of any kind of light conditions that would make an otter look like a dinosaur.
otters are tiny.
Here's where we get to the surgeon's photograph.
photograph.
The famous photo. So Robert Kenneth Wilson, a London gynecologist.
Oh.
I love how it either comes back to vaginas or arseholes on
Always.
on the occult. He refused to have his name associated with it for ages, which is why it's called the surgeon's photograph. He saw the creature, he took 4 photos, but only 2 exposures came back clearly, showing a small head and back, and the second one shows a similar head in a diving position. The first one was the one that became synonymous with Nessie.
Okay.
It was considered as evidence of the creature's existence for nearly 60 years until it was debunked. But a lot of people said, oh, it's driftwood or an elephant or an otter or a bird. And the elephant thing is because travelling zoos would let their elephants wash in the loch. And imagine the trunk coming up so they can breathe. He eventually said it was a fake. This is where basically they basically discovered that it was an overexposed negative, and he had used a toy submarine and some wood putty to sculpt a head.
Oh, that's really cool.
On it. And basically when it looked like they were going to get caught when they were making it, he stomped out the submarine, so the submarine is still in Loch Ness somewhere.
Fuck.
There have been a lot of weird examples of large objects showing up on ultrasound when they've been using sonar in the loch. Consistently large shapes, normally following the boat. Some scientists have said, oh, it's just flora bloom in the loch, like collections of algae spawning at lower depths.
Okay.
But I don't buy that. I mean, a big floaty lump of algae is not going to be moving alongside a boat a couple of 100 metres down.
I don't think so. Also, fucking algae.
Yeah.
It's barely 3-dimensional.
Where's the one about the wizard? I've got a new favourite.
Another wizard.
We've got
Loch
another
Ness
wizard.
is crawling with
Oh.
wizards.
The Loch Ness Muppet.
Sounds cursed
I'm going to have to
already.
read this verbatim from Wikipedia because I love it so much. On the 21st of May 1977, Anthony Doc Shields, camping next to Urquhart Castle, took some of the clearest pictures of the monster until this day. Shields, a magician and psychic, claimed to have summoned the animal out of the water. He later described it as an elephant squid, claiming the long neck shown in the photograph is actually the squid's trunk, and that a white spot at the base of the neck is its eye. Due to the lack of ripples, it has been declared a hoax by a number of people and received its name because of its staged look. Now, Anthony Doc Shields, I want to believe, is a modern-day Crowley.
I was going to say...
I got sidetracked and went down the rabbit hole of his Wikipedia page. First off, let me show you a photo.
Okay.
Evil Santa?
Oh, yes!
He's a Krampus. He is a Krampus, but I want to just read a couple.
He looks like the kind of guy that if you're in a little quiet pub, if you're like an American tourist, you're in a little quiet pub in the Highlands, and you're really like absorbing the culture, he'd come over to you with his Guinness, and he would not let you go for chatting shit about his ancestry.
I know.
And you're
or anything. Or any subject.
Yeah. He sounds like the kind of man. So my papa, my mum's dad, and his neighbour were both from Aberdeen, and he used to have these whole conversations with his neighbour where basically all they did was go like this: whole entire fucking conversations like that over the garden fence. These two old men, and he looks like the kind of man that would sit you down in the pub. Because my grandpa didn't drink, but he looks like he does. He'd sit you down in the pub and he'd mumble and he'd just go
He's holding a pint in the picture.
There we go. Not to malign him. I mean, I respect every side.
Oh, I'm about to malign him.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the fact that he basically has had several solo exhibitions in London before then leaving St Ives following a drunken incident in which he threatened police with a gun that he had obtained from a friend who's a painter. His occupation is put down as artist, magician, writer, busker, psychic entertainer, and hoaxer.
I love him.
Psychic entertainer.
Yeah. Probably Derek Acora type shit. Namely being a stupid Paco Rabanne wearing arsehole.
But he's also a known hoaxer.
Yeah.
So psychic entertainer / hoaxer, kind of same deal.
Yeah, it's bogus. I don't like him. But what I loved is in 1976 he was involved with a series of monster raising exploits which brought him extensive media coverage, especially when he started invoking the monsters with the help of a coven of nude witches.
I'm sorry, I really like him. I admire his hustle.
He tried to raise a Cornish sea monster. He tried to do Nessie.
Who tried to do Nessie?
Tried to summon Nessie. He's written a play called Distant Humps.
Is Distant Humps going to be the new white stage?
I need to find...
When
Nessie barks.
He's written a book called Monstrum, so I want to find it. His spouse is called Chris Shields, so I don't know if he's gay or not. I don't know.
He looks to me like the kind of man who wouldn't be that bothered.
Any hole's a goal.
Yeah.
Any hole.
He looks like any hole. He looks like an any hole is a goal type character, which is chill.
That's not slander. That's just what we think of him.
He looks like he could be cruising toilets.
Yeah, maybe.
That's so disgusting.
Maybe a bit.
Tap the shoe.
Maybe a bit.
No,
yeah.
So gross.
Look over the shoulder.
No.
But he threatened police with a gun. He's also got one of his many occupations on Wikipedia as busker. Oh. He's a good old-fashioned rogue. I like him.
So
You don't make rogues like that anymore.
It's basically Nessie has been spotted regularly, apart from a gap in 2013 when a witch, what was the witch's name? Kevin Carlian, the High Priest of White Witches in the UK, put a spell on the loch to protect Nessie from the exploitation of fraudsters. So
Fair enough.
he believes Nessie is the ghost of a dinosaur, but it's been so exploited for so long that he carried out an exorcism on the loch, and that's why nobody's seen her. But he vowed to put Nessie back in 2014, because for 18 months there was no sight of Nessie apart from very easily debunked fakes. And it was amazing. One of the photos taken wasn't even in Loch Ness.
It's in someone's bath.
Yeah. So
There's
there's
someone's toe in their bathtub.
a load of thought as to what Nessie is. Some people think it's an otter. Some people think it's a sturgeon. Someone has suggested a Greenland shark. Somebody has just suggested that it's that kind of mass hysteria where you're looking for something and your brain says it's real. I don't quite know.
So I want to explore the ghost of a dinosaur thing.
Okay, go.
Because that means the dinosaurs have souls or some kind of spirit. And then the question is, can you imagine all those, I'm not going to say which nationality this is from, but I think we all can see like millionaires in Knightsbridge whose houses are covered in marble being basically like a zoo of ghost dinosaurs.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, not every human being leaves a ghost behind. So maybe the dinosaur had unfinished business.
What kind of unfinished business can a dinosaur have?
Mating.
Can you imagine that with the millions and millions of dinosaurs? That
you have to
people-
sex assist the ghost horny dinosaur. I'm trying to find...
What do you think Nessie is? Nicholas, what are your thoughts on Nessie?
Is it Skeptic's Corner? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have to...
Because I've got my own.
I don't think it's real.
What I want to believe could happen is I want to believe it's a ghost dinosaur. I want to believe that I sit down at my Ouija board and I go, I want to summon the spirit of Nessie, and I get the T-Rex from Jurassic Park coming through on my Ouija board. That was really shit.
What, just the letters just going R-A-A-A-A-A-A-A.
Yeah, I just want to get R-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A.
I love the ghost of a dinosaur theory. That's really cool. Also, that's my favourite Skeptics Corner yet. I don't think it's real.
I do not think it is real.
I like to think Nessie is like some kind of elemental.
I'd like to think so.
I think there probably is some weird shit going on in that lot.
Cthulhu?
Possibly. I fucking love cryptids. I really want, more than any other cryptids, apart from maybe Bigfoot, who I stan, I want Nessie to be real.
I want the Mothman.
Mothman.
The question, how long does that live?
What?
Because the Loch Ness Monster has been going on for...
Well,
it's a ghost.
Not,
it
it's
can
a
go
ghost. Yeah, I don't think
It's not a living thing.
Or it might be a family of things.
I don't think cryptids...
No, incorrect. Greenland sharks, if it is a Greenland shark, can live for 500 years.
Boom.
But it's not a shark.
How do you know?
Because it walked across roads.
Maybe that bit wasn't real.
According to a man who was probably drunk.
This is a world in which Aleister Crowley has lived. I guess it's my automatic, but what about Hitler response to any occult argument?
Yeah. I think there probably is something in that. Like, I really want to believe Nessie is real, but also if she is real, She's representing for the woman because there's not many female cryptids. They tend to use he pronouns. Nessie is really representing because she's always been a she.
Yeah.
Which I really like. It's always she. She's always female.
In
Always.
French, people assume it's male.
That's because French are chauvinistic pigs.
Okay.
Bonjour.
I really want to believe that.
I want to
Nessie
believe
is
it's
real.
Celia's fart coalesced, having echoed across mountains.
Bet there is some Crowley Nessie shit. Let me have a look.
Crowley Nessie fan fiction.
Crowley Nessie fan fiction or some.
I think we found that
Some-
Crowley was good at writing his own fan fiction about
Cra-
himself.
Oh, here we go. Did Alistair Crowley accidentally summon the Loch Ness monster? I knew it. One might not ever have a reason to compare Nessie with the infamous occultist Alistair Crowley unless you make the point they've both been called monsters. So maybe Nessie. I'm going to link Nessie back into my one.
I've just found I found a Jacob from Twilight and Nessie go to the prom. The werewolf from Twilight and Nessie go to the prom, and she's worrying about finding a dress.
Nessie would not go to prom because we do not have prom in Scotland. Actually, my school did have one, but I didn't go.
How you can misspell witch, as in, she handed him a box which held the tie. Witch is misspelled Wixh. How?
Have you ever read My Immortal, the Harry Potter, the worst fanfiction ever written? The Harry Potter one, where every word is misspelled.
No.
It's fucking inspired. I think we should read it one day. Yeah, I really want Nessie to be real. I really want her to be real. I've been fighting her corner since I was 13. She's my hometown girl. She's representing for the women in cryptozoology, of which they're a very underrepresented group. She's Scottish. She tried to fight a saint. She's great. I like her.
I love it. Let's go to break. Monsters roar.
Welcome back to Ectoplasmic Fantastic.
Hi.
We've set the tone nicely. With a dramatic reading of the My Immortal fanfiction from Andrew,
Oh my god.
which is everything.
It was the best thing I've ever read.
Yeah, it's. We should do like a whole dramatic reenactment of
We
it.
should. Next episode, we're going to do My Immortal, and it's going to be vile.
So,
Reluctance.
Yeah.
because it is this weird dystopian future Hogwarts where some people are American and some people aren't. It's
Some people
very
are vampires
peculiar.
now that weren't vampires.
Are there any Hispanics? Because I can do that accent.
Yeah. Why not?
We could make.
Oh.
I mean, if you can make Harry Potter a random vampire.
If Hermione can be black because her race is never explicitly stated, that universal rule of Harry Potter. Ron can now be a gringo.
A gringo?
I don't know.
A gringo is an American.
No, it's slang for white person, isn't it?
Yeah, but mostly American.
I don't speak Latin X.
Okay.
So,
Happy.
can I introduce my subject with the quotes, and I
Yeah.
want you all to guess who the quote is from?
Yeah.
I was not content to believe in a personal devil and serve him in the ordinary sense of the word.
Fuck.
I wanted to get hold of him and personally become his chief of staff. Who might have said that?
Oh, it's not him, is it?
I'm
Crowley.
afraid.
Is it Crowley?
I'm afraid it's Crowley.
Oh, no.
I'm afraid I'm going to talk about Crowley for the next 15 to 20 minutes.
Which, by the way, we did mention that we went to visit the London College for
Yeah.
Paranormal Studies.
Oh, how was it?
It was more like a painting exhibition. Like
Okay.
it was mostly drawings, so it was not exactly what we were expecting. But obviously, who
Oh.
was all over the place?
Crowley.
Mr. Crowley.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, I'm going to talk about Boleskine House.
Yes.
Or Boleskine House, but I think it's Boleskine. So when I went camping in Loch Ness, we didn't realise until the morning after I woke up when my tent leaked and I cried myself to sleep because I was so cold. And I considered pissing myself for the first time as a sober woman just to stay warm. What might have helped explain the entire cursed events of that night was that it was just like a mile down the road from Aleister Crowley's old house, which I didn't realise. So it's down this little kind of unlit road, down which one side is basically Loch Ness, so you can't really drive too fast along it because you could just veer off into Loch Ness and die. So it's in this place called Easter Boleskine, which is very isolated. Not so much anymore. It's quite accessible now, because of the roads. But I imagine, like back in Crowley's day, it really was like butt fuck nowhere.
Don't say that around Aleister Crowley, because he will try and butt fuck nowhere.
Oh, we're getting there. So on one side is the house. There's like a hunting lodge and a big house, and it's set quite far back off the roads. And there's all like no trespassing signs around it. It's actually for sale, which I didn't realise when I was there in May. It was being used as a holiday house by a Dutch couple, and it was for sale. And I was quite scared to like actually get up close to it because I didn't want to be shot by a Highland farmer. But I did jump one little fence to go and like get as close as I could, and I didn't really feel anything particularly demonic. On the other side of the house itself, the other side of the road leading down into Loch Ness, is a graveyard, which is Boleskine graveyard, and between the graveyard and the house, leading under the road, is a tunnel. And I was under the impression that Crowley built this tunnel to fuck in or do whatever he wanted in. But I think it's actually pre-Crowley there was this tunnel. So before he moved to Boleskine, he who shall not be named, so it used to be lived in by this minister called Thomas Houston, whose name is still carved in the stone above the graveyard. So he had a bit of a shit time. This is way pre-Crowley. This is in the 17th century. He had a bit of a shit time because one of his jobs was to make sure that no one stole the bones of the dead and there was no grave robbers. A traveller wrote in his diary that the churchyard was completely open. You see plenty of human bones above ground. The floor of the kirk is overspread with them. But how much was I shocked to hear that sometimes dogs are seen carrying human bones in their teeth.
Yum.
So poor old Tommy's job was to make sure reprobates weren't stealing bodies to sell the fingers for hops or whatever it was back in the day that was in demand. And then also a bit later on, a fucking wizard felt the need to resurrect all these dead bodies just laying around open in the graveyard. Similar time to this, maybe a bit before, it was the site of a church where an entire congregation burned to death.
Oh yeah.
So there's been some fuckery going on prior to Crowley. There was this weird open grave where one fella's job was to make sure no one steals the bodies. A local wizard felt it was necessary to try and resurrect their souls. And loads of people burned to death. So there's some dark energy around there. Anyway. Crowley. I still don't know which one it is.
Apparently it's Crowley.
Let's go with Crowley. He bought himself Boleskine House in 1899 to seclude himself and perform magic from the Book of Sacred Magic by Abramelin the Mage.
Nope.
Abramelin. Abra, A-B-R-A-M-E-L-I-N.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
Yeah, so Abra the Pokemon and Melon.
Abramelin.
So it's Abra with fake tits.
Basically.
Oh.
So this book was badly translated by some guy called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was that lodge where he had fisticuffs with Yeats.
Booted down the stairs.
Kicked him down the stairs. So his mate, whose name was Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, Liddell.
Oh.
Or Liddell. I'm going to say Liddell. He translated this book, gave it to Crowley. And Crowley was like, cool, this ritual's going to take 6 to 18 months. I'm going to buy myself somewhere. So Clicks, obviously, he had this massive trust fund. So he was like, I can buy myself somewhere very secluded, lock myself away, not shoot heroin, not put anything up my arse for 6 to 18 months, and perform this ritual. So during this time, he also became very obsessed with Scotland. He declared himself the Laird of Boleskine, Laird, as in Lord, and he cut about in full Highland regalia. Cultural appropriation, just saying. So I actually started researching what exactly the Abramelin ritual is, and it's basically Jewish mysticism to contact your holy guardian angel. It was written by a guy called Abraham of Worms.
Abraham of Worms?
Yeah.
Oh.
Abraham von Worms, or Abraham of the Worms.
No.
So when the text, according to this text, which is on Google Books, not the whole thing, there's reviews of it on Google Books, I ended up on Reddit as well, Reddit/occult, where people are talking about, like, has anyone performed this? And everyone's like, no, we haven't.
Because
we have jobs. So according to according to the text, when you do this ritual properly, the process leads to communication with your holy guardian angel, or your kind of spirit guide, I guess it would be. It's derived from ancient oral traditions of Old Testament and serves as a method for obtaining that sort of direct guidance from an infallible supernatural source. After contacting the spirit, the magician is instructed in binding or overcoming specific demons that represent hindrances between the practitioner and the idealized creator. There's 3 books. Crowley sacked it off after book 2. When you get to book 3, it teaches you about divination and flying and other magic. So what Crowley basically did was he found this text. It wasn't translated properly, and he thought, great, I'm going to go to Scotland, I'm going to go to the middle of nowhere, and I'm going to do this ritual.
Got it.
Eventually I'll learn to fly. He gave up halfway through. He left.
He does.
Well, that's exactly what I put. Crowley is a lazy fucker. So sometime during this period, he left without dispelling the 12 kings and dukes of hell, who I think are in what's that fucking book called? The Last Key of Solomon.
Yeah.
They talk about the dukes and the kings and all of that hierarchy. So basically, he summons a load of them, and he wrote this quote where he says, "The demons and evil forces had congregated around me so thickly they were shutting off the light. It was a confronting situation. There could be no more doubt of the efficiency of the operation." So basically, it was all going quite well. He summoned all these demons, and then he gave up. And if you give up this ritual halfway through, you get possessed by them. So many locals blame the house's unlucky history on the evil spirits. Aleister Crowley was a lazy fuck. He never admitted when he made mistakes. He never said, I shouldn't have done this, but he did with this one. Even he admitted that it got out of hand, is what he said.
What a twat.
I like to imagine there's 12 dukes and kings of hell, 12 demons in like full biblical king wear turbans and stuff, just fighting with each other, shitting on the floor, just like a crack house basically of demons.
Yeah. I'd watch that sitcom.
Why Crowley exactly did this, I don't know. But then why does Crowley do half the shit he does?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I can imagine him like flicking through the page and like, yeah, whatever, I got this, and then like halfway through the incantations and whatever, like you just do your thing, and then
basically, he just couldn't be fucked. So during this time, he also met this woman called Rose Kelly, who's the woman that he took to Egypt, and then she went mad and died. So he basically sacked it off to go to Egypt with Rose and summon some more demons, and leaving these poor bastards in Scotland just being like, what the fuck do we do now? And this is also apparently the ritual that ruined Crowley's fucking life. So up until this point, things were going all right. If in terms of Aleister Crowley, things were going all right for him. Basically, he had this inheritance. He was fucking loads of people. he was just he was wearing his robes, he was fighting Yates, he was just having a good time. But after this was when he well, we all know how he died. He ended up on heroin living in Kent. Like,
which one's worse?
He had a bit of a downfall. And then everyone says that the reason this happened to Crowley was because of this ritual, because these demons ruined his fucking life. I don't know if it was really that bad. And I don't believe the demons were as bad as he says they are. I think because the ritual required both celibacy and abstinence from substance use, I think that's why he sacked it off, because he couldn't be fucking bothered.
Yeah.
He was fed up of being sober and not chaste.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's understandable, you know. He gets bored easily and he gives up on things, is basically how Crowley operates. If there's not enough heroin and foreign objects going up his arse, he's not really that interested. He claims to want supreme knowledge. But more than anything, he doesn't want to work for it. He just wants to do cocaine and have sex in the woods, which is fair. I just wish he'd be honest about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after this that Crowley went out into the desert with poor little Victor Neuberg and made his cheeks clap so severely that it broke the poor man's psyche. And then loads of bad things happened at Boleskine House after this. So his housekeeper's 10-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son died.
Fine.
Also notice that it's the housekeeper. Again, the working class is getting fucked by the actions of the upper classes. Recurring theme of the occult / society. An employee of the estate who had long since abstained from alcohol, got drunk, tried to murder his whole family. There's also this story about a butcher showing up with the meat order for Boleskine House, who fucking died or went mad. An army major bought the house in the 60s and shot himself. And then Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page bought the house. But he didn't really spend much time in it. He passed on its ownership to one of his friends. And the friend reported hearing creaks, groans, various apparitions, just kind of standard haunting, and just said, oh, that's Crowley doing his thing. And then later owners dismissed any notions. They said it's not haunted, there's no witchcraft, it's just a beautiful old house. It burned down in 2015, burned to the ground, mysteriously. And then it burned down in July of this year, about 2 months after I was there. It fucking caught fire again, unexplained. They said that the fire looked deliberate, but who knows? This house constantly catches fucking fire. It's caught fire about 4 times.
It's old.
No, it's cat.
12 Dukes of Hell hanging out.
They're angry.
Well, their employer... Imagine that if you're like, you've been summoned to do a job and your employer fucks off to the Middle East.
And it's ritualistically left you bound to another plane of existence.
Yeah, because he wants to...
When we go back up
he
there,
wants to bottom in the desert.
When we go back there, I'm going to talk to them.
Is it for sale, that house?
Yes, I think it's still for sale, but...
Do we know how much?
It's just over 500 grand. But I imagine it's going to need a lot of building work because if it's burned down...
500 grand for a house that's like in the middle of fucking nowhere?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a very... it's fucked now because it's burned down again, but it was a very beautiful historic old house, and Crowley devotees will want to buy it, Led Zeppelin fans will want to buy it.
And you can't shame a house.
And Jimmy Page was into like weird ritual stuff as well, which is why he bought it.
We buy it.
Well, I was going to say, would you buy it? I mean, if you
Yes.
have... You would? Would you really?
Listen, the Lesser Key of Solomon is one of my favourite magical texts. And I love the hierarchy of hell. Those guys are fucking interesting.
Oh yeah, they are.
I'm not going to do a 6-month ritual, but...
Would it be like a RuPaul's Drag Race of the Dukes of Hell?
I couldn't... Please welcome the stage,
Dukes.
King Paimon. He'll come in... No, he always comes in riding a camel.
Oh.
Imagine how fucking gay that would be.
I think Boleskine's fucking haunted. I really think it is. I think by virtue of just being an old, creepy house on the banks of Loch Ness, that is a haunted place. The fact it keeps catching fire is weird. That's correct. When I read that it caught fire again, I was creeped out. I got a chill. They say that the fire looked deliberate as well, but who would deliberately burn down a site of historical interest? Again,
I think it's demons.
I think it is quite demonic. And Crowley's just a disaster. He does really interest. I know we hate him, but he is really interesting because I think there is a part of him that wanted to access that. He's just the ultimate self-destructive
Fuckboy.
addict fuckboy. He is, because I think there's a part of him that genuinely did want all this divine knowledge, and he fucked off around the world, and he was a mountaineer, and he lived these very extreme lifestyles to try and access whatever it was he was looking for, but he just kept fucking himself over because he was so obsessed with sex and drugs.
He was his own saboteur.
He was his inner saboteur. He was completely his inner saboteur. I mean, he had an insatiable appetite for knowledge, but it wasn't as insatiable as his appetite for
Butt sex.
doing cocaine and heroin and bottoming to the point of like destroying his partner from the
He's
inside.
kind of guy who likes very complex RPG games and skips through the tutorials and is like, I don't understand how it works.
Yes. He lived in Boleskine for about 6 months doing this ritual, not fucking, not doing drugs, and I think he just couldn't. I think he got bored. I think he was like, well, I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's 12 demons flying around my house getting in my way. And if he was responsible, he would have seen it through to the end, but he's not. He's Aleister Crowley, so he was like, Rose, would you care to accompany me to Egypt? Oh yeah, sure, Aleister, I'll do that. And what did he do in Egypt?
Buy demons and then start off.
Summoned more
hiding.
demons. You've got to finish off the demons you summon before you summon new ones, just because they're shiny and new and Egyptian.
Does that mean then that he's basically, it's like when you check out the only copy of a library book, and if you just summon and abandon your demons, like I can't now go and summon them because he's got them checked out?
Essentially.
He's just bogarting people's demon summoning.
He is, and they're in that house hanging around, starting fires because they're fucking bored as well. They don't want to be in Scotland. No, I'm joking. Loch Ness is beautiful.
Yeah, but they're used to the majesty and ethereal whatever of hell.
I know.
Hell or Loch Ness? I'd rather be in
And they're in-
pandemonium.
Yeah, it's a great story though. I really like the whole thing. I like anything to do with Crowley because he's just such a cunt. Like,
I hate him.
he is hateful. What's good about this whole mess is that there is now a Boleskine House Foundation, which is a Norfolk company, who are going to try and restore it
Well,
to its
that's
full
good.
glory, which is really nice. So I hope that I'd like to see like a Crowley museum or something there, or just make it like a beautiful country house that goths can come and
Just
stay
country
in.
house. I don't think I could go to a Crowley museum. I wonder what it would smell like.
Farts and sulphur
Yeah.
and crusty socks under the bed.
No!
And you know he went for wanks in that tunnel, which is just disrespectful because it is consecrated ground. Also, if you follow Crowley's religion, Thelema, you know how in Islam they pray to the east. So in Thelema, you turn north and face Boleskine when you perform certain magical ceremonies.
Unless you're in Sweden.
Well, you turn whatever direction to face Boleskine if you're into that shit, which I'm not. But I like it's like if you still follow his philosophy, which I don't know many people do, it's still very significant. It's like their holy place.
Now I have to stop playing my unnecessarily complex JRPG at the moment because you just mentioned Thelema, and it's a game with like very inappropriate things around young Japanese girls, and her big white fluffy dog is called Thelema, and she strokes it a lot.
There's a dog called Thelema.
Thelema in this game I'm playing, and now I'm just gonna have to burn the disc.
I think what happened to Crowley, i.e. ending up on heroin, living in a hostel in Kent, is just what happens when you incessantly take heroin and insist that all your friends join you in blood orgies. I don't think it's particularly demonic. I feel bad for those demons.
I feel bad for those demons.
I don't think they deserved what happened to them.
I think it's fucking Crowley's fault through and through.
Yeah, he's just irresponsible.
Well, what a treat.
That was really fun. Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, fuck, marry, kill.
Nessie, Crowley, and
the wizard guy with the pint.
oh yeah.
Oh.
Marry Nessie.
Yeah.
Because I would just marry Nessie. I'd like to live underground in the water. God, that's so bad. I was gonna say fuck Crowley just to see what it's like, and I'd have to kill the wizard guy because
he steals guns.
He likes firearms and I don't.
I would say I completely agree with you.
Would you? You would fuck Crowley?
Marry Nessie, I would fuck Crowley because I want to know what magical powers that gross bottom
Me
has.
too.
Do you know what I have? The thing is, with Crowley, you can tell he's the kind of guy who deliberately would have an unclean rectum. Like, you know, sometimes, like, on Grindr, you have guys who approach you and go, like, yeah, like, licking dirty buttholes.
Oh
and
no!
They
He would,
basically
wouldn't he?
want guys to take shits and not wipe themselves.
Oh.
So they can lick it up. That's Crowley style.
Yes!
You know it.
That's totally Crowley
Yeah,
style.
How did people douche in days of old? They couldn't.
Well, he certainly didn't, but probably
No,
it's
exactly.
a choice.
He probably had dingleberries.
But no, but he would plan around the fact that he would get, like, it would get super fucking messy and covered in shit. Like, you would have, like, dingleberries all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, no, can I change my mind actually? I'd fuck the wizard guy. I can't cope with
you can't.
I'm not
fuck
kink
bad
shaming,
Santa.
but an unwashed arsehole makes me feel a bit queasy.
Yeah. And he probably has, like, untrimmed pubes that smell like piss.
He looks like he smells.
He looks like...
What did he look like when he was young? Because I only think of him as like bald and old.
You've seen the picture, like,
I
the
can't
technical
remember.
ones. It was never cute.
He was never cute. Oh, he's quite. I think he's all right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I think he's quite handsome.
He looks like he showered at some point.
Yeah, he looks clean.
Okay, well, that one, yeah.
Molly's barometer for attractiveness. He looks like he's no.
I like that. I'd fuck him if he wore
I know
that.
that picture.
I mean, I'd still fuck him. If
That's just like straight up the kind of man that I'm attracted to nowadays.
God.
But then again, it's Aleister Crowley, and he definitely doesn't wash his bumhole.
Yeah. So it'll be like, please, can you fuck me with this dildo with the strap on while I cover it in shit?
Yeah,
That would be like it. That would make him so happy.
that would make him
Nicholas,
so
stop
happy.
talking about our sex life.
Damn it.
And you know that when he got back from Egypt, he wasn't even caring about those poor demons anymore because he was so pleased and smug with himself that he broke Victor Neuburg with the power of his, what was it we were calling it? Glutes.
So what about next week?
Ooh, what about like Orkney? Basically, for next week, let's take it as far north Scotland as we can before getting into Scandinavia and see what they've got to say for themselves, because I like that part of the world.
Cool. I like
Does that
it.
sound good?
Sounds good.
Alright, this has been Ectoplasmic Fantastic with Molly.
Andrew.
And me, Nicholas.
Bye.
Bye!